I'm sort of a very classic photographer. My main subjects are landscape, the figure, still life. I could talk to you about the collage Yuki, which is this portrait of the Japanese woman with the tape. It's a good example because I worked on it for many years, which is part of my process. I'm not somebody who just shoots something and then I print it. I'll make a photograph and I'll put it up on my wall. And in this case, I looked at this image for about 5 years to try to figure out how to interpret it. I made many different prints, and finally I realized it needed to be a collage, and then it needed to have paint and mark making to be as effective as I wanted it to be. Presentation of my work is very critical. I pin things in the corners, and the work should be looked at not just as flat photographs, but as sculptural pieces. So they have a tactile presence. I'm influenced from everything from the cinema to sculpture, especially to painting. This is very important to me. And in fact, it's one of the key points of my work because I'm trained as an academic in academic drawing and in painting as well. And the reason for this is that originally I started out making street photography on the streets of New York, and I felt very frustrated by relying on an external subject matter to express myself. And I realized that I wanted the work to come from more inside of me and not be dependent upon external. And so what evolved was that I tried to use the power of painting, which is about plasticity and to control, and about poetry and tonality and color, and to have total control over my medium. And the power of photography, which is of course about time and death. When I mate the two together, interesting start to happen. The nude for me is one of the most complicated subject matters because of course it's been covered so much in the history of painting and the history of sculpture and photography. And so first of all, you don't want to do something that's cliche or it's been done before. The nude is difficult because there's no clothing, there's nothing to work with, and you just have anatomy. And everything has to be working together, and this is very, very complicated to do and to capture something emotional. And for me, my nudes tend not to be sexual. They're very much about the inner spirit and the beauty of the figure. And so I try to transcend any kind of sexiness because this gets in the way of the message that I'm talking about. I just look at the figure as very beautiful and sublime. The portrait for me is very complex because I'm not interested in doing a portrait as, say, Arnold Newman would, who's an expert at showing an individual in their environment. And for me, I actually want to take out everything but the essential and just the face and the negative space around the empty background. And why do I do that? Because I'm not actually trying to make a portrait. I'm trying to show the unitive quality that I feel when I'm working with a head, and to go beyond the actual personality and get to the core spiritual and inner life of the model. And the object is that the photograph should be timeless. It should be something that I could put on my wall and look at for 100 years and never get tired of it. And if it's really working, when I look at the image, it will just silence my mind. Time is one of the most interesting issues in photography. A lot of photographers look for sort of the definitive moment, and I'm actually looking for the non-moment. I don't want to place things in time at all. And this is paradoxical. And so oftentimes I'll work with sequences. I'll put two images together, one shot just a second after the other shot. And this creates something quite interesting. I've always been interested in black and white photography because, first of all, I didn't want to copy reality. I want to transcend reality. I'm looking for something sublime. As soon as something is in black and white, it sort of sends a signal that we're sort of one step out of reality already. I think I've always felt betrayed by my own mortality, by existence, by being human and all the petty problems we have. And that's the whole reason I make art, is to find something sublime during our short stay here and to transcend the mundane life that we live. I work with traditional black and white silver barter paper, and I've been doing this for 25 years. It's actually very physical, the job we're doing. I have to run around the trays. And I love working in the dark room and with the red light. And it's very different than if you're working in front of a computer all day. And for me, I need to use my hands, and it's also very important for my prints. These are handcrafted and handmade pieces, and each print is individual. A great deal of care is taken with each print, and oftentimes I'll work for 2 weeks in the darkroom on these big prints. And that's after maybe working on something for a year or 5 years outside of the darkroom by looking at work prints and deciding how I'm going to interpret something.